Alright, hello there and welcome to the channel. My name is Ken Weller, and for years I've been getting my hands dirty with just about every type of car you can imagine right here in my garage. Today we're tackling a question I get asked all the time. Why do these newfangled electric cars seem to lose their value so much quicker than my trusty old petrol motor? It's a proper head-scratcher for many, especially when you're thinking of spending your hard-earned cash on a new set of wheels. You want to know that your investment is a sound one, and seeing the value drop like a stone can be a bit worrying, can't it? Let's start with the basics of what we call depreciation. Simply put, it's the difference between what you pay for a car when it's brand new and what it's worth when you decide to sell it on a few years later. Nearly every car loses value the moment you drive it off the forecourt. That's just a fact of life, I'm afraid. But the speed at which that value disappears can be very different. For decades, we've had a good idea of how much a Ford Focus or a Vauxhall Astra will be worth in 3 years' time. It's a predictable game, you see, but electric vehicles, or EVs as everyone calls them, have thrown a spanner in the works. They are the new kids on the block, and the market is still figuring them out. You might buy a shiny new electric car for, let's say, £40,000 and be shocked to find it's only worth half that after just 3 years. That's a massive drop, and it's happening a lot faster than we see with traditional petrol or diesel cars. This rapid loss in value is a major concern for buyers, and it's making some people think twice before making the switch to electric. So what's really going on here? Is it just because they're new? Well, that's part of it, but there are several big reasons all working together to push those used EV prices down. It's not one single thing, but a combination of factors, from the battery inside the car to the speed at which new technology is being developed. In this essay, I'm going to break it all down for you in simple terms, so you can understand exactly why this is happening and what it might mean for your next car purchase. Let's get into it, shall we? The single biggest reason for this steep drop in value is the battery. Think of the battery in an EV like the engine and the fuel tank of a petrol car all rolled into one. It's the most important and, crucially, the most expensive component in the entire vehicle. A brand new battery pack can cost thousands, sometimes tens of thousands of pounds to replace. This huge cost hangs over the head of a used EV, making potential buyers a bit nervous. They worry about how much life is left in the battery and how much it would cost them if it were to fail outside of its warranty period. Just like the battery in your mobile phone, an EV's battery degrades over time. With every charge and discharge cycle, it loses a tiny bit of its ability to hold a full charge. This means that an older EV won't be able to travel as far on a single charge as it could when it was new. This is known as battery degradation, and it's a major factor in a used EV's value. A car that could once do 250 miles might only manage 200 miles after a few years of use, and that reduction in range makes it less appealing to the next owner. This uncertainty about battery health is a massive driver of depreciation. When you buy a used petrol car, you can get a mechanic to check the engine over, but it's much harder to get a clear and simple report on the exact health of an EV's battery. This lack of transparency makes buyers cautious. They will naturally offer less money for the car to cover the potential risk of having to deal with a degraded battery in the future. It's this fear of the unknown that really pushes the price down more than anything else. Now compare that to a petrol or diesel car. We've been building and running internal combustion engines for over a century. We understand them inside and out. A mechanic can listen to an engine, run diagnostics, and give you a very good idea of its condition. The parts are widely available, and the costs of repair are well established. There isn't a single component that costs as much as an EV's battery. This familiarity and predictability give buyers of used petrol cars a lot more confidence, which helps the cars hold on to their value much better. Another huge factor is the incredible speed at which electric car technology is improving. Think about how much your mobile phone has changed in the last 5 years. The camera is better, the battery lasts longer, and it's much faster. The exact same thing is happening with electric cars, but on a much bigger scale. Every year, new models are released that can go further on a charge up much faster, and come with all sorts of new gadgets and features that make older models look well, a bit dated and basic in comparison. This rapid progress is fantastic for people buying new cars as they get the latest and greatest tech. However, it's not so good for the value of cars that are already on the road. Why would someone pay a high price for a 3-year-old EV that has a range of 150 miles, when a brand new model from a different brand might offer 250 miles for a similar price? The new models make the old ones obsolete much more quickly than we ever saw in the world of petrol cars, where a new engine might only be a tiny bit more efficient than the last one. Let's take a real-world example. The first mainstream EVs that came out about a decade ago had a real-world range of less than 100 miles. At the time, that was revolutionary. Today, you'd struggle to sell a car with such a limited range unless it was very, very cheap. The goalposts are constantly moving. A car that seemed cutting edge just a few years ago can quickly become undesirable as buyers' expectations change. They now expect a range of at least 200 to 250 miles as a minimum, and this makes older, shorter range EVs much less valuable. In the world of petrol and diesel cars, progress is much slower and more gradual. A 2020 Ford Fiesta isn't dramatically different from a 2023 Ford Fiesta. It might have a slightly tweaked design or a new infotainment screen, but the engine, performance and fuel economy will be very similar. This means the older car doesn't feel nearly as outdated, and so it holds its value much better. With petrol cars, a 3-year-old model is still a perfectly good and modern car. With EVs, a 3-year-old model can sometimes feel like a piece of old technology. So with all this rapid depreciation, does it mean you should avoid buying an electric car altogether? Not necessarily. In fact, this situation can actually be a massive opportunity for savvy buyers looking for a bargain on the used car market. While the first owner takes the huge financial hit of that initial depreciation, the second or third owner can pick up a perfectly good, modern and cheap-to-run electric car for a fraction of its original price. You could get a 3-year-old EV for the price of a much smaller, brand-new petrol car. For those buying new, the government and manufacturers have tried to soften the blow. In the past, government grants helped to lower the initial purchase price, although many of these have now been phased out. However, manufacturers are aware of the depreciation issue and often offer very attractive finance and leasing deals like personal contract purchase or PCP. These deals protect you from the worst of the depreciation because you don't actually own the car. You're just paying to use it for a few years before handing it back. This makes the switch to a new EV much less of a financial risk. It's also important to remember the other side of the coin, the running costs. While an EV might lose more in value, it costs significantly less to run day to day. Charging an EV with electricity at home is far cheaper than filling a car with petrol or diesel, especially with the fuel prices we've been seeing lately. Furthermore, EVs have fewer moving parts, so servicing is generally cheaper, and they're often exempt from road tax and congestion charges in cities like London. Over a few years, these savings can add up to thousands of pounds, which helps to offset the higher depreciation. Ultimately, the decision comes down to your personal circumstances. If you buy new and plan to sell after 3 years, you need to be prepared for that drop in value or choose a finance deal that protects you. But if you're looking for a used car bargain, the EV market is a fantastic place to look right now. The technology is only going to get better, and as more of a switch, the market will mature and depreciation rates will likely start to settle down. I hope this has cleared things up for you. If you found this video helpful, do me a favor and give it a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe for more straight-talking car advice. Cheers.